Hi, everyone. Welcome to Here for the Health of It podcast. We have a great show today. We have Adam Sellner, who's the owner of the Gaming Co., and he trades. He's one of the top 10 world's biggest retailers for Pokemon and Magic cards, and he gets into his business model, how he got started in it, and then we get into all the different components of that as well. So thanks for listening. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Here for the Health of It podcast. I'm Dr. Randy here with Dr. Tom, as always. Thanks for checking us out on our social media, Here for the Health of It podcast. We have all our clips on Instagram. And as always, we have another great guest for you today. We have Adam Sellner, who's the owner of the gaming company, aka the Gaming Co. No website, no presence of yourself. People don't know who you are. You're kind of an enigma.
Off the grid.
Yes.
Runs off solar energy.
And the interesting thing is I would always get Instagram ads from people saying, oh, get Amazon to do your company. You don't have to show your face. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to physically sell the product. And then they would offer to coach you how to do it.
Correct.
But you're the guy that just does it and isn't coaching people, because whenever someone wants to coach you on it, I'm like, I don't think they're really that successful, or I don't think they really have it figured out.
Yeah, a lot of that is a lot of grifters, and that's really not a great space. So we do the Amazon portion. That's about a third of our business, but we also have brick and mortar stores, and then we also sell a lot of cards as well.
So tell us exactly what you do. Tell the listeners.
Yeah, so the easiest thing to kind of get everyone in the right frame of reference is we own comic book stores. So we have 3 of those, just brick and mortar comic books, cards, sports cards, that kind of thing. But the majority is actually online third-party sales of that kind of merchandise. So about 40% of our revenue is Amazon-based. So we'll do a lot of board game clearance. So when you go and Hasbro is clearing out a truckload of Barbie Monopoly, we'll buy the whole truckload, we'll store it in our facility, and then we'll sell it slowly on Amazon.
Barbie Monopoly.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, the worst version of Monopoly comes out. It doesn't sell. So we'll buy a whole truck of it and we'll store it and we'll sell them very, very slowly.
Yes.
And then another good chunk of what we do is card singles. So if you're into Pokemon or Magic the Gathering, we are probably the largest seller of Pokemon and Magic individual cards in the U.S., or at least top 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe what about the world?
Probably top 10 in the world.
10 in the
Yeah,
world?
probably 10 in the world.
See, here's the thing. That Pokemon is massive.
Yeah. So what we specialize in is not really the high expensive cards, but if you're looking for one individual 50-cent card for your deck to
Collection.
play with, so our facility ships around 500 envelopes a day of just, you want one card, we're going to send you that one card in an envelope. Wow. Yeah.
Can you explain Pokemon?
I don't know.
Do you
I don't know how that
understand it?
game. No, I don't know how that game works. Do you know? You play the game?
As a kid, I did. Yeah. So
Pikachu?
I was never a big card game guy, except I'm sure a lot of us were in the 90s.
Pogs. Are you too young for Pogs?
No, I was right at
played
the end
Pogs?
of Pogs. Yeah. But so Pokemon and Magic are both games. So there's plenty of people, even our age, that go every single Friday night to play Magic and play Pokemon, and it's kind of like their golf. So you're going to go and you're going to assemble a deck of cards. And the cool thing about these games is that there's tens of thousands of different cards. So it's very fluid. And as new cards come out, the decks change. And it really is a really cool game. And if it didn't have that like nerdy connotation, I think everyone would play Magic. It is a really cool game. Yeah.
Randy, what league are you in? Are you in the southeast region?
I'm a dragon in the second portal of Voldemort.
All right, so I want to take us back to like, how do you get into this at all? Like, what age are you? When did you say this is the niche I want to be in? Give us the whole story.
Yeah, so it all started pretty young. So my like all the way back, grew up single mom household. You know, she worked at Target. She did daycare out of the house. But a big thing we did every single weekend is we went to garage sales to flip stuff on eBay. And this was like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Wow.
So she was like really early into eBay. So we did that, you know, every weekend growing up. So I know a lot about a bunch of random stuff.
Yeah.
Any big items that you can think of that really changed the game for you?
Pez dispensers. So like old Pez dispensers. So like you're looking for the ones that don't have feet.
He doesn't even know.
I know what they are,
Yeah.
but I wasn't allowed to have them.
So we did that every weekend. And when I was maybe in middle school, she bought just a big tub of Magic cards at a garage sale, and I think we bought it for $10 and sold it for a couple $100. And that was a good score for my mom at the time. So fast forward all the way to college, and just like any other college kid, I had about $1,500 to my name, and I wanted to make some money. So I said, hey, what about that old idea of buying Magic cards and selling them?
Yeah.
I wasn't really a player, so I put an ad on Craigslist and bought my first collection of Magic cards for $400 and flipped it for about $2,000. And then the next one I bought for $700 and flipped it for like $5,000, with hundreds of hours of work because I didn't know any cards. So I had to look up every single card individually. And so that was 12 years ago. So yeah, that $1,500. And now we did about 20 million in sales last year, and we have 40 employees. So, and all from that original seed
That
money.
is
So yeah, it kind of flipped from, we would buy, I did a bunch of collection buying, and now we'd buy some like collections from people off the street, but mostly we buy from distribution and look there now. So yeah, it was just kind of a slow process of one collection at a time. And then, I remember the first employee, I remember all that stuff. And now it's taken a whole new life.
Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Columbia Family Chiropractic, with 3 easy-to-get-to locations, one in Forest Acres, which is by Trader Joe's, one in O'Neill Court by the DMV, and one in the Northeast by Sand Hills. You'll be sure to have somewhere near you. They offer a ton of services from corrective care, on-site digital x-rays, spinal decompression for bulging or herniated discs, dry needling for injuries, pediatric care, and a Class 4 laser. They accept all your major insurances. And if you mention this ad, you'll get a discount on your first appointment. Check out their website at cfc4health.com or Google Columbia Family Chiropractic. That's cfc4 health.com.
It's pretty
You know what's great is Randy and I have known you for 3 or 4 years, maybe somewhere in that range. I've had no idea what you've done. Like we have we've golfed a lot, and we had no idea.
Yeah.
So I guess thinking on the same lines, like so everything's online, right?
Yep.
Your brick and mortars aren't local.
Nope.
What brought you to Columbia, South Carolina? Like why are you here, and why do you love it here besides Randy and I?
So when I met my business partner and we started the big warehouse, I told him from day one, like when my wife graduates optometry school, I'm leaving. I'm going to do the finance, I'm going to do the purchasing. I put up a lot of the seed money to start, and you're going to stay in Kentucky and kind of run the day-to-day operations. So she went to school in Kentucky, and when she finished, I'm a spreadsheet guy, so we went to like 10 different cities in the South and kind of said, do we like the city? Does it have an airport? Does it have a lake? Yeah. And we kind of rated them all on metrics. And Columbia just came out on top. So we kind of out of a hat said, I guess we're moving to Columbia.
Did Mark ever tell you that story? It's exactly what we did.
Yeah, Mark and I are pretty similar.
Wild.
Yeah, it is wild. That's exactly what they did. But yeah, I mean, we absolutely love it here. It's close enough to the airport. We love being out on the lake all the time. We like getting out to the beach. And at least in the time we've been here, about 5 years, even like the restaurants have gotten a lot better. And there's so much more coming to Columbia that, like at the time when we were picking, Greenville had, so many more restaurants and was such a bigger draw, but it feels like Columbia is at least starting to kind of be a little trendier and get a lot of cool places.
For sure.
Yep.
So what does your wife think of Columbia? Because you guys were married before you moved here?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
just before.
And was she in on the decision?
Yeah, she loved it. I think that she maybe misses, she is a Minnesota farm girl at heart, so I think she does miss the farm.
Like milking cows?
Yeah, they were sheep. Yeah, sheep. Yeah. So her family is there. Is it a centennial farm, I think? So like her family's been there for 100 years, and there's 2 houses on the 200 acres. So her mom lives in one house, and on the other end of the farm, now her brother lives there. And that house was their grandma's house. And then previously, the current house their mom's in is the great grandma's house. So essentially, every generation, they keep flopping houses. And, it's right down the road. So I think she misses that a little bit, but we're here for good.
And you're the guy that stole her away from the farm.
She's the first one to leave the farm in like many generations.
That's the same thing happened with my wife. She was from a town of like 70 people, and it was just like we can't live here. This isn't. We're not going to do this. But it's caused a little animosity. Animosity.
Yep. All right, now who stays up to date with all the like games and stuff that are coming out? I know you got a 40-man team. What are there guys in a warehouse right now just buying cards, ripping them open, and like, separating things out? Are they staying up to date with the Barbie Monopoly stuff? Like how does that work?
So so there's the two arms. So let's do the card arm first. So the cards it's actually all just a math problem. And as I said, I'm a spreadsheet and a math guy. Essentially, if you open up enough packs of cards, you can figure out exactly what's going to come out of each pack, the probabilities, right? Mm-hmm. So call it a pack of, I don't know, 1995 tops, right? So there's like Michael Jordan cards in there. Yeah. So you'll know that if you open 10,000 packs, you're going to get one Michael Jordan. Well, then if you know the value of that Michael Jordan, you can essentially take what you get out of those packs and then track that versus the live value of those cards and come up with an expected value of what you're going to get out of each pack. So we don't really have to.
Dude, how is your head spinning right now?
It makes sense to me, but I just can't even fathom who's opening 10,000 packs of those.
Yeah,
and it's a human, right? There's no machine doing this.
So we do have the packs need to be opened by humans.
Yeah.
But then after they get opened, the machines do sort them and alphabetize them.
Oh, that's nice.
So we have 8 robots. So 8. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Yeah, and these are big industrial machines. Like they're pretty big, and they so the kind of the fast one, it'll do 4,000 cards an hour, but it can only make 10 decisions. So the cards go into the machine. It just says, is this card good or not good, or is it something specific about it? And then the other kind of machine we have for those alphabetize. So if you give them 1,000 cards, it'll take them all and it'll put them in alphabetical order for you, which is pretty cool. So anyway, back to the question, we don't really need to stay on top of the trends so much, because every time a new product comes out, we open that product, we see the value we get out of that product, and we live track those card prices. So essentially, as we see cards go up in price, well, we're going to open that product. And it's kind of crazy to think about, but the card market is a lot like the stock market. Like there's websites with crazy price graphs and like cards go up and down overnight.
Really? Yeah. What is there a website you can give us that we can look at?
TCG Player, they just got acquired by eBay for $300 million. This is like the eBay or Amazon of specifically Magic and Pokemon cards. $300 million this company just sold for. And, they live track prices. You could see price trends. So we're the #1 seller on TCG Player. So if any of your listeners are into specifically Magic or Pokemon, they probably see us on there, the Game & Co. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Now, what about fake cards? There's got to be people out there making fake cards, and is it the robots that can figure that out?
No, that's really not. That tech is like just starting to become available, but they're fairly obvious once you're into it. I mean, I'm sure the casual person wouldn't know. I think Mark's Roman had a fake card in his binder one day, and I was like, Mark, just so you know, this card is fake. And like that's really the biggest problem is, sometimes kids will trade them for a real one, and maybe some kid could take advantage. But that's we don't deal with tons of that just because we're opening most of our cards from packs.
Gotcha.
So you could show up to a Pokemon game with a fake card.
But
is it like cheating in poker, kind of?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you could get eliminated from the group.
Yes.
You let's talk about the game real quick.
Yep.
You show up with your own cards.
You do.
And like
a binder?
That's your team, like that's your army.
It's like a deck. So not a binder. It's like you got 60 cards in a deck, kind of like playing cards, and they all interchange out, and there's obviously hundreds of thousands of combinations.
Yeah. But there's got to be an ultimate like 60-man lineup or 60 Pokemon lineup that dominates.
You're exactly right. So there's kind of like golf equipment or kind of like other sports, they'll ban a card. Like if a card is too good, there's a ban list. You can't play with that card.
Wow.
Yeah. And so like the most valuable Magic card is the Black Lotus, if you've ever heard from it. An original printing Black Lotus in the perfect condition, I just think set the record price for like 2.1 million. It's like a high-end comic book is what these. So that card is the most powerful card ever printed, and that's one of the reasons why.
And how many of those do they print?
The first printing of 1,100 copies.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
so
that's it.
Decent amount, though.
Yeah.
And that's probably how old? How old's that
It was
card?
1990. I'm going to get it wrong, but let's call it 92.
90s.
No, yeah.
Does the
90s.
condition of the card matter?
Yes.
When you're selling it, but when you're playing,
No, not when you're
it could be like ripped
right.
up and then taped up. Doesn't matter.
Yep, exactly.
Love that. Now, your vision's terrible, so how do you even see the cards?
For the listeners, my wife is an optometrist, and Tom loves my sunglasses. So
It's unbelievable.
Why? We'll speak to that a little bit. Why do you have such bad vision if your wife is an optometrist?
Okay, so I'm oddly cheap. So like there's a lot of things that I just really bother me to pay for. I've like been extremely frugal my entire life, and like I had some pretty extreme financial goals growing up. So especially in my teens and 20s, like I scrimped and saved every penny to where it was not really fun to be around me. But some of those things have really hung on. And one of those things would be like glasses. Mine work. I don't care if they're super scratched or a little outdated. They work great.
And the prescription's wrong though on them.
Well, yeah, it's like 5 years old, but they work. I mean, they work good.
And you cut your own hair, correct? Or Jill
cuts my hair. Yeah. And once again,
you just won't pay for a haircut.
I won't pay for a haircut. And I think that's one thing that I do struggle with, but at the same time, I feel like those habits are kind of what caused like my success and the company's success, because my employees love telling this story. But so I wouldn't buy a pallet jack for like 5 years because, we'd get a pallet off a truck and it only took about 5 minutes to unload it by hand and then stack it over there. Well, I was like, okay, well, 5 minutes, an employee costs $15 an hour. So that's what, $1 or $2. The pallet jack costs $1,200. So I'd have to unload 600 pallets to buy a pallet jack. Like that's just kind of how my mind analyzes stuff. So yeah, a lot of those habits have hung on, but I don't know. I do really value those because if we would have spent aggressively, especially early, then we wouldn't be in the situation we are today. Like one of the big advantages that we have, if we look at the other side of the business where we're buying out liquidation board games and selling them super slowly, we're one of the larger companies. So like one of the companies we work with is, have you heard of Asmodee? It's like a pretty big board game. It's one of the biggest board game companies. Nope. They make a lot of specialty board games. So think along the lines of like Settlers of Catan. Have you heard of Settlers of Catan?
I've heard of that.
Yeah. So they're one of the big specialty board game makers. And, one of the things that has allowed us to be successful is we're one of the few companies in this space to where Asmodee said to us a few months ago, they were clearancing out this card game product, and we had to buy 20 truckloads of this junky card game, and it was going to cost, I think it was like $500,000 or something. And we're one of those companies like, okay, well, we have the cash. This is the reason we scrimp and save. So we were only one of 3 bidders on this stuff, and like we're going to do really, really well on that over the long term. So some of those habits are hard to kick, but that is why I don't have
But for
glasses.
context, though, you have one of the nicest and fastest boats I've ever been on.
Yeah, you spent money.
I'm getting better. I really am getting better. Yeah, but it's a really good read for you guys or like people who are into finance and life planning is called Die with Zero. If you've never read it,
Is it Jesse
awesome
Itzler talks about that a lot.
Yeah, it's really an awesome book, and it kind of got me out of the save mindset, and that's why it's one of the reasons I bought the boat, and I'm starting to loosen up a little bit.
That's a great book. I think everybody should read that book. And the premise of it isn't to spend your last dollar on your last day. It's to allocate every dollar to what you want it to do.
Yep.
And my brother's a financial advisor, and part of his job is people who are so obsessed with saving, they have ridiculous amounts of money, and he has to tell them, you need to spend money, and they won't. So it's the farmer who has $9 million and is still driving a truck from 1982.
Yep.
And it still turns on most of the time, so he refuses to get a new one.
Yes.
And he's like, "What? This $9 million is just going to go to whoever, and they're just going to waste it."
Yeah. So that's a big thing that I'm trying to be better at. I need new glasses. I get it.
I just love giving you a hard time. All right. So you dabbled in some golf simulators too.
Yeah.
Give us that whole thing.
So right out of college, I kind of had the choice that everyone had. I said, I started this business in college. We maybe got to $1 million or $2 million in revenue. And I was like, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to try and pursue this full time or get a full-time job? So I luckily didn't get the 3 jobs that I got interviews for. And that kind of started the whole entrepreneurial journey. So about a year after college, I bought a house to flip. I tried that out. It didn't go the greatest. And then
you were up there with a wrench and a
I did all the painting myself. Yeah, I did. You believe it? I saved that money. Yeah. My first employee and I were just like in this house in the middle of summer, and the AC wasn't working. We're just sweating bullets. And so I went there, and then maybe a year after that, 2014 or 15. My good buddy who actually taught me how to golf, he had this tiny little indoor golf facility in the middle of Wisconsin. It only had 2 bays and was like kind of in a garage. And he said, I want to take this concept to Appleton, Wisconsin. And it's a pretty big town. Yeah. And they didn't have any indoor golf simulators yet. So we were kind of the first one in that part of Wisconsin to open a golf bar. So we opened in let's say 2016 with 5 simulators and a full bar. And then in 2017, we expanded that 5 more simulators. So then we had 10. And then in 2019, we opened a second one in Green Bay. And I actually just sold out to him about a year or 2 ago. But yeah, it was an awesome little business, and it was nice to be on the the starting side of things.
And why did you sell out?
I love Mike. Mike's one of my best friends, but we are just very, very different people. He's just a all gas, no brakes, dreamer kind of guy. We have 2 locations. It's doing really well. We're making plenty of money, and he's the guy who wants to go get a loan and 100 locations. And but then the next day he has this another idea. And it's like, Mike, I'm just a very one foot in front of the other, slow and steady, and he's a go-go. But
Mike sounds a lot like Tom.
Yeah, I was like, Mike's a great guy. Probably pays for haircuts, dress as well.
It's actually very
great vision.
Yeah. I remember him telling me this was about 2014, and we're going out to a bar, and I'm sure I was complaining about that we weren't going to the cheaper bar or something else. And he's just telling me, what's the point of, making money if you're not gonna spend it?
Right.
And he's always been kind of ahead of me on the learning life curve. So he's taught me a lot of lessons
growing up.
Well, here's the other side of it though, because I resonate with a lot how you feel too. Is it's nice to be spending a lot of money and to just have the money saved, because then you feel like you can say no to anything you want and it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's maximum freedom in my mind.
Yeah. I mean that's ultimately like kind of I've been getting pretty deep into the whole philosophy journey and things like that, because like my entire life I had one goal, and that's to make money so I have freedom. Like growing up in a single mom home, it was like we were always stressed for money, So I had this one singular goal. But now that either I've achieved my financial goals or we're getting very close, like I kind of had this crisis of like meaning for a while.
Right. Sure.
So I've been reading some philosophy books and things, which I was never into that. I was like a finance, business, money guy. Yes, right. But now, so at least some of the reasons I'm doing some new business ventures is not really to make maximum profit, but it's more looking to fulfill for fulfillment. Yeah. To where every business decision I've made has been, we got to make money. We got to do this. Did I really want to get into the card business? I don't know if I would have chosen it for fulfillment. I chose it because of profit. So now, like looking forward, some of the new businesses that I'm going to get to are things that like, could we make money?
Like passion projects.
But the goal is to like have fun and be fulfilled and do those things. And like, I'm happy I learned this lesson a little sooner in life, because I think it would be pretty sad to wake up in 50 years and be like, all the things I did were just for money. It's like I'm trying to turn my passions into more fulfillment instead of just like chasing a dollar, which has been fun. But I mean, I also have to say I've been really fortunate to do well, to be able to have this realization, right? Like feel like you have to have that grind set early on to get yourself into the position to do that.
A lot of people don't realize that. I think there's a lot of 21 and the people that I was alluding to on the internet trying to coach you into your $1 million Amazon.
Yes, exactly.
You're probably getting ads for that. Hey,
I do.
Let me show you how to take your Amazon business to the next level.
Yep.
But they haven't put in the time. They're 25 years old.
Yep.
They've probably barely worked 40 hours a week. They don't know what it's like to be all day, every day, learning all the ins and outs. And I think it creates an illusion for other people too that it's easy and that it should only take 20 minutes a day
for sure
to do everything you want to do.
Yeah. I mean, now, I'm lucky enough. We have the team, and I do play a lot of golf. But I mean, from 20 to 28, I woke up, I worked all day, and that was it. I mean, I was single and living the life, and that's what I did every day. And I did truly enjoy it. But you do have to put in that time in order to have the success.
Yeah.
What do you recommend for people, like maybe even younger guys that want to get in this space? Where do they start? Who do they trust? Where do they learn from? Like where do they go?
I guess on like a broader sense, whether it be this space or like other spaces, I think the biggest thing is, first of all, you have to just evaluate your risk. So when you're younger, especially, and let's say you're making less money at a job, what is truly the risk of quitting that job to try something? Well, just go get another job.
Right.
I mean, that's my biggest piece of advice, especially when you're young. Like once you're making a really good salary and have 2 kids and have a wife, it is harder. But the first thing for young people is just take a risk. Like I didn't know how to file sales tax returns. I didn't know how to pay employees. I didn't know how to do anything. And I'm very thankful. I walked into my first accountant and I was like, I don't know. Can I pay you? And he goes, nope. I'll see you in a year. You're going to do everything yourself. Figure it out.
Really?
Like you can.
Wanted you to learn it.
You can do it.
Mike would not have appreciated that.
No. So I guess that's number one is just, especially when you're young and you have nothing to lose, always evaluate, especially your downside risk. And if your downside risk is low, well, then just do it because you can go get another job.
What can you expand on that? Because I understand it, but I don't think a lot of people understand the downside versus upside risk.
Yeah, so like the newest thing we're doing, and you guys know this, is we bought some land in Pawleys Island, and we're building a rental home there. And I toiled over this decision for the longest time, but I mostly did it because of, it's going to bring fulfillment. I can go there occasionally.
Randy and I need a place to stay.
You guys do need an ocean house. Yeah, exactly. But the big thing I kept telling myself is, if I do this, I could fail with the rental. I could fail a few ways, but at the end of the day, I still own the land, and the land is still going to be worth something.
Yeah.
So I always like to think of, when I make a decision, what is the worst case scenario?
Yep.
And if the worst case scenario is not that bad, well, then do it.
Sure.
And that's number one in terms of getting into business. But in terms of the online business, I mean, it's really hard, and there's really no.
Yeah, like, are there mentors, and who do you trust?
Yeah, there's really.
Like, could I start an intern program and just funnel people to you? Yeah, I got a guy.
Well, they're competing against a guy with 8 robots.
Right. Yeah,
and
that's tough. Yeah.
Years of experience.
Right. Yeah. As you get, but at the same time, when you're smaller, you do have a couple like advantages. I mean, you guys probably know, as you grow your company, you have to start skipping over pennies on the ground.
Right.
Like in the beginning, I had to pick up every penny. We had to grind over everything, to where now there's a few card projects in which we don't bother with because it's not quite worth it to pay employees to do it.
Yep.
So I do think there are, if you're willing to go out there and grind, as we talked about, I do think there are some things you can exploit. But in terms of getting started, I mean, I'm a big believer in just going out and flipping stuff online. Like, that's a huge way to start any business. So go to a garage sale.
Low risk.
You buy it for $5. You flip it on Facebook or eBay for $20. And a lot of times you're going to find a niche from that.
Right.
So, for example, just like cards, Legos have a giant economy behind them, to where each single piece has a specific value. And like, we sell individual cards, but you can go on a website, it's called Bricklink, And if you need 20 specific Lego pieces, you can order those 20 specific pieces. So there's a huge economy behind Legos. I think you could look at that. I think, even something like the furniture flipping business, we've got a couch in our house that we're trying to get rid of for $20. You get that couch, you reupholster it.
Right.
That's a few $100. Like, I think it's
out there.
Yeah. I don't know specifically how to get into my space, but I would say almost all niches are kind of like that. You just have to start small
and for you, it was trial and error, right? I mean, there wasn't a person that you were like, oh, let me follow this formula. You were just doing and then adapting.
Yeah, and I got super lucky. I mean, the first collection of cards that I bought, looking back, I actually evaluated the downside risk really poorly because I was like, oh, this is so many cards.
Yeah.
I can't do badly, but it turns out 99% of cards are worthless. Right. So I actually could have done pretty poorly. Right. It just happened there were a lot of good cards in there. So that was a stroke of luck.
Are there a lot of cards out there that are still in packages from decades ago that are like available to purchase? So somebody has like a Topps 1992 baseball card box. That's out there.
It is. But actually, a really interesting watch on YouTube is they've just figured out how to put card packages into a CT scanner
and find out what's in them. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's been around for a while that you could weigh the packages, and like when a shiny card has a layer of aluminum in it, so it was a little heavier. So you could always tell if there was a shiny card in the pack, but now there was a guy that he bought a CT scanner and he had that kind of background, and he's scanning card packs, and you can see
that just guy's got a vision.
You can see in the packs. Yeah. So now you got to watch out for that in that space. Yeah.
Right.
So I bought a whole bunch of shoes when I was in chiropractic school. Have I told you this?
I know. I heard it on one of the episodes. I wanted to get into that.
I look back at it and it was amazing. It was $1,500 for 1,500 pairs of shoes. Yep. And I just had to go to New York, pick them up, sort them, put them on eBay. And I think it could have been, like, if the chiropractic thing didn't work out for me, I think I could have done well in it.
Yeah.
But it was weird how much I started to like shoes after that, because I didn't care about shoes at all.
Yep.
And then after that, I started noticing everyone's shoes and thinking about it.
I mean, that's another great niche. Like, there's plenty of people who just do shoes full time and they do that exact kind of thing. And you can do really well. Like, there's so many, especially reselling niches that you can get into.
Yeah.
Because most people just don't want to do the work.
No.
At the end of the day, there's money everywhere.
Well, and I think you said in that episode, you said that you probably made $2 an hour. Yes. Well, I mean, so did I on my first collection of cards, right? But then once you learn how to get faster listing on eBay, once you learn a bunch of the cards, well, then you're going to get faster and you start making more per hour. Yeah. But you still have to put in the work.
Were you telling me, or did you tell Megan about it was like Payless shoes that they rebranded to pretend that they were something fancy and sold them for like crazy amounts?
Yes. Have you heard this?
No.
It was in Beverly Hills, Payless shoes. They called it I Pay Year. They gave it a name that kind of sounded like Payless, but it sounded prestigious. And they put them with the lights and the glass, and they had a big party, and they gave champagne. And they had all these designer people out saying, like, what do you think of this shoe? Oh, it's so elegant and beautiful. And I could tell the quality is so good. And then at the end of it, they announced to everybody, actually, all the shoes are from Payless, and they're all $30 or less. Yeah. But it just goes to the idea of marketing is also a massive, massive thing. For sure. Especially in the shoe world.
Yes.
I don't know if it works in the Pokemon world. I feel like most people are just, you know.
You need the card because you need that card.
Yes.
Yeah.
I bought a pair of shoes at Walmart once for $3. And they had no brand or anything on them, so unidentified.
They're like rubber boots, kind of.
No, well, I bought those too. I got on a Walmart shoe kick because I just couldn't believe you could purchase shoes for that price.
Right up my alley.
Yeah. And so I bought these. They looked like Crocs, but they weren't Crocs. So then when I showed up to the beach, we had a birthday party, a 40th birthday party. I just told people these were like $300 and like made up a brand.
Everyone believed it.
And everybody, there's people this day still think that those shoes. Because there's no logo. There's nothing.
Yeah, I get everything from, well, my wife does most of the shopping for me, but she gets it all from Home Goods or what's the one for clothes?
TJ Maxx.
TJ Maxx.
You're a Maxxinista.
Yeah, this is $12.
All right, so college. What was your degree in?
I was a computer science business double major.
Computer science.
Yeah.
And then we need to tell everybody that we're in the presence of do we say 5-time All-American, 3-time academic, 2-time
Regular. Yeah.
Regular All-American.
Yeah.
Hammer toss.
Hammer toss. Yeah. It was a good time. I was about 60 extra pounds back in those days.
Great neck on you then,
huge
too.
neck. Oh,
Great
you should
neck.
see those pictures. Yeah. But yeah, thanks. And recent Hall of Famer, actually.
Really? Got inducted?
Yeah, I had a speech last summer. Killed it.
Hammer.
Now,
so I know nobody knows what hammer throw is.
No. So imagine a 16-pound shot put attached to a 4-foot cord, and you spin around in circles. And if you've seen the movie Matilda, that's about the only reference when the Trunchbull goes and tosses the hammer.
Yeah.
So,
but all right, when do you pick up your first hammer? Like when did you say, I'm going to throw hammers? That's just not, you don't go to like the store and they have them for sale.
No, so most people do shot put and discus in high school.
Yeah.
And when I was going to keep doing that in college, and when you get to college, you try out hammer for the first time. And it turned out after a lot of Dramamine, because you get a little dizzy. So your first couple of practices, you get really dizzy. But it turns out
you're spinning around,
circles.
30 times?
Yeah, well, in practice, a few hundred times for sure. And anyway, first meet out freshman year, I broke the school record. It was just one of those fluke things I was good at. Very strange. I guess my skills, I don't know.
You're like, what's this? School record.
Yeah, I'm just gonna toss it out there. Yeah, so that was a fun few years, but it's pretty hard on your body, especially all the lifting that goes into it. So
how heavy is the ball?
16 pounds.
16 pounds, and there's no 20 pound. Is it there a women's and a men's?
Yeah, women's is 8 pounds, and then you do sometimes like throw 20 pounds for training. So you do kind of stagger your weights for training.
We used to play with hockey pucks that were too heavy, and then you get a real one, and it feels like nothing.
Actually, going down the hockey, I wanted to ask you this. First of all, your birthday's in the first part of the year?
April. I'm a fire sign.
Have you
learned that a few times on this podcast?
So Mark and I were just talking about this book. It's called Outliers. But here's my question for you. Do you know why? I think it's, if I butcher the stat, I'm sorry, everyone. But approximately 30% of NHL players, our birthdays are in January or February.
Yep.
Why?
I have read
Okay,
this.
yeah, it's an awesome book.
And I think it is true. Do you want to tell the premise?
Yeah,
Do you want to tell the reason?
So for listeners, essentially the reason why it's a little odd, but in Canada, the youth hockey programs, they cut off the birthdays on January 1st. So essentially every year the new 5-year-olds, they're going to go, well, who is the biggest, strongest, who's the best hockey players? And go figure, at those young ages, the oldest kids are the best. So essentially, if your birthday's in January, you have a way better shot of making the travel team at 5 years old, which means that you're going to have more practice. You're going to have way more
better coaches,
reps
more ice time
for your entire life.
Yeah, more confidence even.
Right. So it's not so much that those kids are any better or bigger. It's just that they're given more reps younger, which is super interesting that Canada's essentially limiting their hockey pool by like 50% because only the kids at the first part of the year have a chance.
Yeah. Well, if you're born January 1st and you're playing and you turn 6 years old on January 1st and you're playing against someone that turns 6 years old on December 30th,
it's a huge difference.
There's that 1 year is a massive gap.
Right.
Except for me, because I hit puberty so early. I just didn't keep growing, so I had a massive advantage.
But you're still April, right? So you still were a little
earlier. I was still on the earlier side of it. Yeah,
exactly. Right.
What are Canadians planning around this now? Like, are they saying let's get pregnant in?
I don't know, because there's so many women that are born, and I don't know if it actually works that way anymore. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah,
I feel like he may have flipped that on its head a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, now what's the vision for this gaming co? What's next? Are you guys like looking to acquire companies? Do you go down that? Or just keep cranking?
Yeah, so we did a little bit of that last year. So we, if you've seen those stores that are like Amazon stores where you go dig through the bins and buy the returns.
Yes, it's called Where You Been in Columbia.
So one of those kind of stores. And we actually bought a chain of 5 of those stores. The reason we did that is because we have all these extra. A lot of the stuff we buy in terms of the board game space, we'll buy it and we'll sell it very, very slowly online, but there's still a good chunk of it that we need to get rid of because the sales rate is way too low. So we thought we could buy some of these stores, mix in a lot of our board games and toys, and essentially have a second way of selling those. And Unfortunately, it didn't go very well. We no longer own those stores. It didn't really work. So we were kind of in like the expand idea. But in terms of now, no, I mean, we're happy where we are. Things are going well. I think I'd rather put at least a lot of my effort into, I want to open a spa. So everyone get ready for, within the next, I'm going to say 10 years, there will be a very nice spa going somewhere out towards the lake, not in the Northeast here. Sorry guys. But I'm a big spa guy. So I need a lot of wood, a lot of stone, perfect seclusion. That's what look forward to Columbia for sure. We're getting there.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of my energy is going to go into, well, Mark and I are talking about potentially doing a golf range, a spa. I've really enjoyed the whole building this rental progress. So I may build a few other things like that. But in terms of the gaming co, we're happy with things are, and I don't think
there's not another, like, is there another tier of flipping stuff? Like, what would be the next?
We could do, there's a few other games. We could get into sports cards. We could get into Legos. There's a lot of like little other categories that we could add. But what I find as we grow, and I think this is what really good companies do really well, is I feel like we have struggled launching. We struggle launching something unless one of the owners is there launching it, because it's really hard to have employees take ownership, and unless, and we do have a few employees that are on like a profit share system, and that does help. But it's been really, really hard to launch new projects and get them profitable, because I feel like the grind is what gets you niches, right? So if someone is not in there grinding and really learning and digging in deep, it's really hard to expand the business. And I mean, I think that is definitely a fault of my own, because I'm like such a micromanager in a lot of ways. We've had a lot of hard time just growing middle management. And I don't know if you guys struggle with that, or if you guys have. Now that you have,
we're unbelievable. We're really good. Everyone we hire turns into an immediate just leader.
Like with three clinics, do you guys have to have? I'm sure you have a head of each clinic, but then do you have someone overseeing all three clinics, or is it just you guys, or how does that work?
Yeah, my wife's kind of become the head of overseeing all three, but that we're in the same boat in trying to duplicate her, like replicate her.
Yeah, and when you get to 4 or 5 clinics, well, then you might need another middle management layer, and like that is super, super difficult. And now that we're kind of at 40 employees, that feels like a point in which it's hard to go a lot higher with starting to add a lot of that middle management, and it's just not something.
Do you guys do any company outings, gatherings?
We try to do like a big Christmas party for all the employees and their family every Christmas weather. One year we went to like an arcade bar. One year I think
staying in the gaming space.
Yeah, a lot of gaming space. One year we did bowling, but there's not much. So we're in the middle of Eastern Kentucky, and there's not much in that area. So you kind of have to travel like an hour and a half to do anything cool.
I want to hear a little bit about your weight loss journey.
Yeah,
because you alluded to that earlier, where you lost a ton of weight lately.
Yep.
And you're basically just a spreadsheet math guy, and you just approached it as if, it's just math. Yeah.
So, I actually kind of at least found something successful listening to Alex Hormozy. If you heard of Alex Hormozy, yeah. So
and his wife Layla is awesome too.
Big business guy, but he also had a couple podcasts with Graham Stephan where he got into like life and dieting and nutrition, and that was actually some of his way better stuff. Like I haven't gotten quite this deep, but he's read like every religious text, and he's gotten to so much philosophy, and he's found something that works for him, and it kind of resonated with me. So his method of dieting essentially is, it's really simple, guys. Your body needs calories. So if you eat less calories than you need, you're going to lose weight. So all I do is write down every single thing that I eat. If I go over 2,100 calories, my little spreadsheet turns red, and I like have this internal pain. Like it pains me when I see that go red. I really don't want to eat something because I don't want to see that spreadsheet go red. And then it stays green if I'm under 2,000 calories. So it's really that simple. I do try to like maximize my protein for sure. I have as much protein as I can fit into there, but it was really simple. Like I struggled with the longest time. But
does your spreadsheet automatically turn red? Like
Oh yeah.
Really?
That's easy. Yeah. That's
I
it's
gotta-
just conditional formatting at the top. Yeah.
Nice.
And then you just leave it there, and you'll have to stare at it forever.
Oh yeah.
So you have days that you think back to, and you're like, "Why did I do that? It wasn't worth it."
No, so I try to do, if I'm going to go have a good day and like have a dinner and have a good time, I just accept it. I'm like, this is a red day. We're going to be red.
Yeah.
You know, cause you have to still enjoy life.
Yeah.
But I just make sure, you know, the day when you're home and you're doing nothing, just have a good day.
Yeah.
But Jill's making Cinny buns.
Oh, that's why I put her on baking bans. My wife's a huge baker.
locked me up.
So
In one day, I probably ate 3,800 calories worth of your wife's cinnamon buns.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I keep it pretty simple, and I know a lot of people get down counting calories, but essentially that's
Works for
all
you.
I did. Yeah.
Is this where your fetish for plain hot dogs came from? You were looking at the condoms.
I prefer onions and jalapenos on my hot dog.
Okay.
That's it. No condiments.
Because they're low calorie, though. Is that why?
No, not at all. Actually, so my brother, when I was 8 years old, he got syrup in my GameCube.
Oh,
So
no.
ever since then, condiments just don't.
so you don't
I've had an
generally use
aversion.
condiments at all? Like mayonnaise
Oh no,
on a
that's
sandwich?
gotta be the no.
Dude, you have the dry. So all right, so, I can't even wrap my head.
Well, I like vinaigrettes. I like Jimmy John's little vinaigrettes.
Like
Yeah,
a salad, you're gonna put dressing on it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, ranch
then-
and Caesar. Yeah, but no mayo, no ketchup, no mustard.
Which is Jill like condiments?
No, we're kind of
So if I go to your refrigerator and I need to do this,
Yeah.
and open the door, what am I looking at for condiments? Just like
some of that stuff's in recipes though, because Jill
gotcha.
cooks pretty aggressively every night. So we have all that. Now there's not much food in our fridge at all. Big tip for you guys and the listeners: what we do is, we just go. She'll pick out the 5 recipes every week, and then she'll buy the precise amount of ingredients. So there's nothing else in our house. Our family comes to our house and they go, "Where's all the food?" Like we have almost nothing in the fridge. It's just mostly alcohol, and then like leftover condiments from recipes. But we have no food waste. We just buy exactly what we need for those 5 meals. And it saves a bunch of money and it works out.
That's amazing.
people cannot wrap their minds around the plain hot dog thing. I mean, we've put that out there to the internet, and it is just mind blowing.
I'll throw my wife under a bus here. She likes plain, cold Oscar Mayer hot dogs.
What? Like uncooked? Like
Well, they're cooked out of
the pre-cooked.
Yeah, the pre-cooked.
So she'll just take it out of the wrapper and eat it.
And like the bad ones, like the Oscar Mayer,
Oh
right?
my-
At least get the Kirkland ones. Those are
Turkeys. The Costco one. Oh man.
I've never heard of that before.
yeah, no,
That's-
I know. It's
was
disturbing.
Did she tell you that before you got married, or was that how you found out afterwards?
Honey, what are you doing?
After
walk out
work,
the
You come down at 1 a.m. and all the fridge lights on.
All right, tell us about in this space. What's been the biggest miss? Like, do you recall where you guys purchased something or tried to flip something and it was just like a massive flop? Because we love talking about the worst thing you've ever had.
Okay, here's the worst thing. Not a bad business decision, but I have a propensity, at least I did, to be pretty intense, almost to a fault, to where I look back on some of the decisions I made and I was like, you shouldn't have cared that much. Like, take a step back, dude.
Mm-hmm.
But one of those things happened about 5 years ago, and so the week before Thanksgiving is kind of the biggest week of the year for us because it's the last week that Amazon accepts shipments to guarantee them for holiday sales. So like our whole warehouse is pretty stressed. We have to get the product out the door, and we ordered. It was at least at the time it was a pretty big shipment for us, maybe in the like 10 pallet, $50,000 to $100,000 range. And at the time that was a huge shipment. So it was supposed to deliver the Monday before Thanksgiving, and it's not showing up. So I call the freight carrier and I go, "Hey, where is the shipment?" And she goes, "Well, we had a bunch of driver call-ins and it's not going to make it until next Monday." And there's still 2 more business days in that week, right? So I fly off my handle. And I don't think I swore at her. I don't really remember, but I
blacked out.
I definitely was not very nice. And so anyway, her boss calls me like an hour later and he's like, "Okay, we'll find a way. We'll get it to you tomorrow." And I was like, "Okay, thank you." He goes, "But you need to call my secretary back and apologize. And I was like, okay. So I did, and I left a message. So Tuesday shows up, the shipment's there, and that was awesome. It was huge, and it got pretty late in the day. So we all just went home, and we said, okay, Wednesday, we're going to jump on this right away so we can ship it right before the holiday. We wake up Wednesday morning, we get to the warehouse, and it just stinks. The whole warehouse stinks. So we call the landlord. We're checking the bathrooms. I mean, it smells like straight poop sewer in the warehouse.
Yeah.
And we can't find anything wrong. And the landlord comes out. He goes, the sewage is just fine. It's not a huge deal. So we just go on with our day, and we start prepping this shipment. And sure enough, someone from the freight company took a dump in our
No.
Love that.
So, needless to say, we don't use that freight
It was
company
the
anymore.
secretary.
So who found the dump?
I forgot.
Oh. You were looking around,
We're
smelling.
going through the shipment, and like we unwrap
Oh
the
my
pallet wrap, and
God.
it just stinks. And so sure enough, like I mean, it was my fault. I probably crossed a line.
You deserve. Do you feel like you
Yeah, I
deserved
probably deserved
someone
it. Yeah,
taking a
looking
dump
back.
in your pallet?
Yeah, I probably deserved it. So that was it was a loss, but it, kind of a loss.
All right, so what's a day in the life of Adam Sellner look like nowadays? Because I had no kids for a weekend. And it was like 36 hours. And I asked you, I was like, dude, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm waking up tomorrow. What does it look like for you?
Well, let me preface by saying this is a recent phenomenon. It used to be, you wake up and we grind at the warehouse all day. But now that the warehouse is in Kentucky, I mostly handle the finances and the purchasing, and then I kind of help with the head of operations who's there now. So now it's pretty chill. So I wake up 6:30, usually check my email, then I go hit some golf balls at George Bryan's facility there in Chapin.
Shout out, George.
Shout out, George. Then usually get my coffee on the way back from Kristen and Phillip at the coffee house down in Irmo. Awesome, by the way. You need to have them on.
Yes.
They'd be a great interview.
Keep name dropping.
Yeah. Then I'll get home, work another couple hours, then maybe hit the hammock for a little read.
Maybe some video games.
Yeah, I do play a little Xbox occasionally with my buddy over in Europe. Yeah, he's
Have you ever met him face to face?
Yeah, no, old high school buddy.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the day's wrapping up with the warehouse, so I maybe log back on for an hour. Then usually crack some wine, and then Jill gets home and cooks dinner.
Do it all over again.
Do it all over again. Yeah.
That's great.
So, but when you go to Comic Cons, that's when you're working all the time. You have dudes up in your hotel room.
No, we
How are you getting dudes back to your hotel room?
no, we
Randy,
we don't do Comic Cons. Oh, I go to one a year, which is kind of the game store owner Comic Con. So we do a lot of business with other small card shops.
Yeah.
So I go to that one, but we don't go to any others. We don't do a lot of buying from the public so much anymore. We mostly just track the expected
Corporate.
values. Yeah.
But don't you go to? Was it the conference where you had people that just kept asking you questions and
You were
following
speaking
up
at-
to your room?
Yeah. I gave a speech on how to essentially price cards online.
Can we find it? Is
You
it
can.
online?
It's
What
on-
do we
yeah,
what
it's
do we
on
search
YouTube.
in?
It's TCG Player Seller Spotlight, the Gaming Co. You can watch it. It's like an hour and a half lecture on my Excel and how I price
And you're
cards.
showing your spreadsheets.
I'm showing the spreadsheet.
You talked for an hour and a half on it.
Yeah.
It's like
What is-
continuing education.
Yeah.
for
It is like-
What does
gamers.
the audience look like in that? Like, is it just
Exactly how you. So I think that I think most people who start in the industry, really like cards and games and comics.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things that kind of gave me a leg up when I got started. Is they were just a way to make money from me. It was not like a passion. So like most game store owners love
Yes.
the games.
you got to be the most athletic person there in the room?
Easily. Best looking as well.
Oh man, just luring kids back to your hotel room with a trail of Pokemon cards. All right, nice. So then you're a big believer in adult men should be collecting things, correct?
I believe that. Yeah.
Wait, do you believe that? Because he wasn't.
Well, I actually have a collection of Beanie Babies. So.
That's where we're going. That's where we're going with this.
I knew you were. Yep. I thought I would just get ahead of it.
Tell the audience about your prized possession, Beanie Baby.
So.
Or you got a couple?
I got a few. Yeah.
Walk us through that.
Yeah. So Beanie Babies is a lot like other. 99% of Beanie Babies are completely worthless.
Yep.
But the most like original printings are still fairly valuable. So if you guys are into Beanie Babies at all, let's just say, a lot of people know of what's called a green frog, right?
Yes.
He's a pretty standard looking green frog. His name is Legs. Everybody has a Legs.
I think I had one as a kid.
It's worth $3.
Yep.
But the Legs with the first ever tag is like $400 to $500.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's kind of. I was huge into Beanie Babies as a kid, and I was kind of looking for an alternative investment. So I figured, let's just go pick up the super high end Beanie Babies, and they're just upstairs and they hang out.
What's what's the most you spent on a collectible that you still have?
So the most
personally,
the most expensive Beanie Baby is about $2,000. Well, there's a couple that are a little more, but it's the royal blue peanut elephant.
Do you have that?
I have 4 of them. I mean, it's one of those things. To me, it's like it's a downside risk thing, right? So I think at the time I paid $1,000 each.
Yeah.
And could they go down to 0? Yeah, they could. But could I see someday them being comic book level?
Right.
If one Beanie Baby went to $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000, right? Comics are worth a couple million for the best one ever. Well, $1,000 didn't seem like there was a bunch of upside there, right? If it gets to comic level, and what's the downside? Maybe it goes in half, right? So I lose $500. So I figured, I'm not sure it's financially super prudent, but it's just an alternative investment.
And your wife knew when she met you that you were going to have a Beanie Baby display.
Oh, she already saw it. I think she must have liked that. Yeah.
Now, as a kid, I never opened my toys, and my wife has been on you
Don't
for a
you
little
still
bit.
have some?
So I brought a couple.
Oh, okay.
Now, again, I have bins of toys. I always thought they're going to be worth something. So when I got Christmas presents, I just kept them in package. I brought a few.
Yeah.
Now, some of these are just, I couldn't get to my good stuff. Okay. I don't think.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine buying a gift for a kid and him being like, "Oh, thanks," and then never opening it.
See, like this is an open oldie. I think this is my brother's.
What
that
year,
I took
though?
from him.
What year?
1977 Chewy.
Okay. Yep.
How do I know the worth of this? Like, is there value to this?
I don't.
You're not in
it's a little over my balance, but I'll give you the.
Yeah. What do I do?
So 77 would be good, right? Because I think the Star Wars movies, that would have been probably the first wave.
Right. Right.
Now, specifically with Chewie, I think there's something with like a attachable leather belt, and that one doesn't have.
Right.
That one is a molded belt.
So like if it was like
I don't know, the molded one could be better, but I don't know.
That's
it could also be worse.
insane that you could possibly know that.
But there's like a lot of details, especially with older Star Wars figures, to where like the first printing had a belt that was just felt, right? And then the second printing had blue eyes, and then the third printing had this. So I'm not a Star Wars expert. Now our big store, because like I said, we have 3 physical stores.
Starting to dabble in Star Wars.
Oh no, he's all into all the collectibles, right? So if you ever wanted to get rid of it,
we could drop the warehouse.
We could drop the tub there. They would essentially put it all in the store, and then you would get, I don't know what we pay on that kind of stuff, but maybe 40% of retail or something.
And then you guys flip it to
exactly.
Gotcha.
We'll just sell it really slowly. So I'm no expert on that stuff. But I mean, the sealed tick over there looks pretty. I mean, you never know.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like it's a rare thing.
But you can just,
but I don't know.
Just check on eBay.
That's a 94.
Yeah. I think they also have eBay Lens now.
This guy's an 86.
So yeah, they have, I think eBay has like a lens. So you take a picture with your phone.
And then see
it'll just pop up and say, this is the recent sales of this.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Cool. So that's what you want. If people have collectibles, they can go to see, and there's a section on eBay, and that's the main, basically like this is sold for this in the last month.
Yeah, so I think there's a You can definitely just type in on eBay, and then on the left side there'll be a filter that says sold items. So you always, a lot of people get really confused because you go to eBay and you see these things worth tens of thousands of dollars.
But they've never sold.
Exactly. So on the filter on the left side, it'll say sold items. So click on sold items. But if you get the app, I'm pretty sure there's a photo button, and you can just take a photo of the tick over there, and it should bring and pop up. Here's the recent sales of that.
See, I want my son to just do this. Like, I want this to be his first thing.
Yeah, that'd be.
Like, I'm not going to go through these and care about any of it, but I'm thinking, like, he could learn eBay. He could learn trying to figure out how to get rid of the shit, because my wife wants it gone.
You should have Connor do that. That'd be a really good idea.
What age do you think it would make sense? He's going to be 11. I feel like he's getting closer, but I also feel like he still has no clue. He'd be like, oh, just get rid of everything.
Yeah, you'd have to probably guide him through it. But I mean, when we started, when my mom was on eBay, I had to be probably well under that age.
Really?
And I mean, we did, I helped her with the shipping every day and the printing the labels. And I mean, I remember, way back then when she was really struggling, I mean, we would have Saturdays that we'd go out in the morning, we'd look for stuff to buy all day, we'd get home, I would take the pictures while she created the listings, and then
no kidding,
I would help box stuff up, and she would pay for the postage. And I had to be probably that age, if not a little younger. I mean, he can do it, but he'd need help.
Yeah.
It'd have to be like, you guys do this together, you're gonna sit down at night,
right.
He'll take the photos, you'll show him how to list stuff. But I mean, I think that's a lot of the reason why, I got into business. And
well, it's cool to hear that, like, that was what you turned into. Do you and your mom talk about that a lot?
Yeah. She's blown away, even though she was like, she was the one that wanted me to get that corporate job right out of school.
Right.
And looking back, she's thrilled I didn't. But at least our parents' generation, it feels like they're all into, go do the safe thing, go get a job with corporate America. Mm-hmm. But in my mind, that's one of the least safe things that you can do. At least if my business fails, it's because of me, not because some bozo doesn't like me or made a bad decision that I have no control of. Right.
Yep. So I'm looking at this Macho Man Randy Savage right here.
Yep.
It's crazy how little his muscles are back in the day
compared to Tom's.
Well, just in general, like, I'm looking at his lats. He's got tiny lats. He's got no muscles around his spine.
No movement in his hair.
His legs, I mean, he's got big calves, but you can't even see his leg definition. It's crazy how far we've come, and now a character has to look like the Hulk.
Yep.
And every muscle is exploding out of their body.
Yep.
Things were different. Social media shifted everything.
I think it's shifted. It's just weird to see a toy from that long ago and realize how different.
Maybe you're going to get a little wrestling collection going.
Let's get you in the wrestling collection.
I had sheets for my bed that were Macho Man Randy Savage, and I also had Jake the Snake.
I'll ask Allison if we can get a little wrestling collection.
That would be fun. Yeah, that would be fun to get going.
We could do some like wrestling between my beanies and your.
Come over and play toys.
All right, I want to do. So I started this new segment. It's called "She's a 10 But." Have you played this game before?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, I just have. I only have 4 for you, so it's easy. So it's if she's a 10 but, then I'll give you a scenario, then you rate it.
Okay.
Still a 10, down to a 2. She's a 10, but she gives you a hard time about golfing too much.
I've played a lot of golf too.
Yep. She's a 10, but she's terrible at cooking.
You don't eat much.
That's a good 7.
7.
Yeah,
okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be okay.
She's a 10, but she's from Puerto Rico.
10.
She's a 10, but she's obsessed with true crime podcasts.
Like the sexual true crime podcast?
Yeah, buddy.
Good point. I don't know. I guess you could rank them normal ones versus the sexual ones.
Oh,
if that changes your answer. Does it change your answer?
No, I don't. No. Yeah, probably 9. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it'd be okay.
It's normal.
Yeah. I thought you were going to get some Beanie Babies or some Pokemon there.
She wears a furry hat.
She's a 10, but she doesn't like Pokemon.
Right, yeah.
All right, my last thing is where I need you to go back in history. Where does the negative golf self-talk come from? If you were to dial it in, guy gets so pissed.
Yeah.
Anger.
Oh, see, it's gotten way better. You should have seen me 5 or 10 years ago. I would.
Did you ever break a club?
No, I was
Throw a
never
club?
that. Just
Never
that,
throw a club?
That's not. Yeah, that's over my level. But yeah, just I like to be good at stuff. You know, like I have, and that's why I go practice golf way too much because I need to get better. And golf's one of those sports too, right? You'll occasionally hit that shot that is pro level, and you're like, well, I can do it now, right? And that's what's so frustrating about golf because you know you can do it, and then it doesn't happen, and that is awfully frustrating. All of my leisure activities stress me out even more, which is not good.
It's why I was talking to somebody and I was explaining to them like how golf is like a business thing and it's kind of a hobby.
Yep.
But then I was telling them I have a friend that practices golf more than a lot of college athletes practice their own sport.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I really like about golf is it's so darn hard.
You can always learn something.
And you can always, it's such a challenge every time. Like that's, I mean, I love Musgrove Mill and most people hate Musgrove Mill. I like to get punished out there. I mean, it's gotta be difficult. Like that's part of the fun of life is the challenge of it, right?
Yeah. Golf does teach you a lot because there's times too where like things are just not fair.
No.
And then there's times where you just like, you shouldn't be in this position and you're in the position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing I don't like about golf is like sometimes it's, where were we the other day? Like those greens were that was unfair. That's the kind of stuff that bothers. Usually CCC is great,
right?
But that was a tough day.
Yeah,
I like how much you learn about a person in golf too. You spend 4 hours with a person, you know a lot about them.
Yeah,
what time they show up, how they act.
Yes,
how they eat their hot dog at the turn. Throws you off. So, all right. Anything else you want to add in closing here? Do you want? Are you looking for like new?
Do you even have an Instagram?
No. Yeah. So like
no
a lot of what we do is third party platforms. So if you're looking for stuff, we have an eBay account. It's the gaming company. Our Amazon account is called Coolest Commodities, but when you buy stuff on Amazon, you just kind of click the thing. So you might be buying from us. Other than that, we're the Gaming Co. on TCG Player if you're into buying Magic cards. But yeah, we never really got into direct to consumer. We mostly do third party stuff, which has advantages and disadvantages. But yeah, that's kind of where we settled into.
This has been fascinating listening.
Yeah, we finally got to get to know you.
Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, no, it was fun.
All right, appreciate it. Oh, man. We're here for the health of it.
For the health of it.